Hey everybody, the Bong is here, ready for today's Q&A session, the last one for the month of August, and we finally move on to September. Back to school for everybody, well, except for me, I finished school like 7 years ago. Oh, I forgot to mention that coming up in early September is my 6th-year anniversary, so how about that? I've actually kept Let's Playing for 6 years without being bored about it and starting Twitter drama. And that's neither here nor there, so let's get started with the first question. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments. The Blue Emergeddon, I don't know if he misspelled Armageddon or he's trying to make a play of Armageddon and America at the same time. He says, what do you think of Sonic? Are you talking about the drive-thru or the Hedgehog? Because we don't have Sonic drive-thru here in Canada. Well, at least not in this part of Canada. But I'm going to assume he's talking about Sonic the Hedgehog, because that's his profile picture right there, with his arms crossed. I think the old Sonic games are okay. I don't like games where you gotta go fast, that kind of thing. Because I don't have that great a reaction time. I can just keep going. Oh, I lost my rings right away, because I had like almost a microsecond to jump. And even then, you might jump into something else. You might jump into a pit and die. Or the 3D Sonic games where you go really, really fast and then you stop over the slightest things. You hit invisible walls. There could be glitches everywhere. The music is campy. The voice acting is extremely campy. I'm just not into Sonic games at all. And I think the Sonic fan base is even worse because some of them are just never happy with anything. It's like they will crap on any new Sonic game that comes out. It's like, we want this, we want that, you get this, you get that. Oh, I'm not happy because it's not exactly the way I want it. Out of all the other fan bases I've seen, like for Pokemon, Mario, Zelda, things like that, the Sonic fan base is probably some of the most ungrateful. Not that everybody that likes Sonic is ungrateful, don't get me wrong. And a portion of them are creepy furries that in a dark room would probably take like their fan-based or well fan fictions, cut the holes around the crotches, and get paper cuts around their foreskin, that kind of thing. I'm not identifying who does that because I don't really know. It's probably just hyperbole on my part, but I just think the Sonic fan base is strange to me. Almost on lines with some bronies. I'm not here to insult people, but I've met a lot of bronies, and they're actually not bad. I mean, yeah, they have like ponies as their pictures all the time, but they don't go completely nuts. At least compared to the Sonic fan base that I usually see on Twitter that's often retweeted on my feed. The ones that will crap on anything new that comes out, even if it's exactly what they wanted. Sonic is not going to go back to the way it was. Things move on. Castlevania is not going to go back to the way it was. I mean, we're stuck with Lords of Shadow, which is not a terrible storyline. It just feels different from traditional Castlevania games. Feels more like God of War, so to speak, but that's okay. Things change. We got to move on. That kind of thing. Rick Rude, not the wrestler, says, Hey Bong, I have 2 questions. 1. Who are your favorite wrestlers of all time? Well, I would have to say Stone Cold Steve Austin, even The Rock, Mankind, Triple H, The Undertaker, CM Punk, even though, well, I don't really care that if he doesn't come back. I mean, let him enjoy his retirement. Chris Jericho is an awesome wrestler. Kurt Angle. Who are some other ones? I love the Hardy Boys back when they were a tag team. Edge and Christian, the Dudleys. So as you can tell, I was pretty much like raised on the Attitude Era, even though I was born in '86 and didn't start watching wrestling until '99. So yeah, if I had like some favorite wrestlers, they were from that era. And from this modern era, God, it would be too hard to say. Probably like a Daniel Bryan or Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, these guys. They're really picking it up, and I really like them a lot. And he also asks, how do you pick which games you are going to Let's Play? I would obviously think it's because you want to play the game, but this doesn't explain the Barbie series, etc. Etc. meaning I do other crappy games, and that's okay. Half of it is because I want to play the game. And, I just pick the right time because I'm busy with other projects. Other times I'm requested this game and I figured I'd just check it out, maybe I'll like it. And other times I'm just thinking, if I let's play this game and do so with a straight face, people will think I'm on drugs. Which I'm not, by the way, because I don't do drugs. Well, maybe caffeine, which I just finished a cup of coffee, by the way, because it's like 10 in the morning that I'm doing this. I figured this would be the best time to do my Q&A. And other times it's just weird. I'm thinking, nobody's let's play this game before. Why don't I try it? And sometimes I might get you a nice bit of views because people might have been looking for that project rather than like the 3000th Final Fantasy VII Let's Play, probably done by Ryan and never even finished it yet. So that's pretty much how I go about choosing what games I want to do. Hideo L. Ryushima asks, just like your other Let's Plays, do you record your Q&A ahead of time? And if so, how long ahead? Because in this video, now last week's, you mentioned the Ice Bucket Challenge, but you did it a couple days ago with a couple of friends. Well, that is true. In terms of the Q&A, it might actually be 1 or 2 days before the Q&A actually gets published. That one I don't do well in advance because I'm probably still getting questions at that time, and I don't want to leave anybody out. He also asks, also outside of Let's Plays, what do you do to pass time like a job or hang out with your pals? Well, I usually do hang out with my pals, Ryan Bragg, ColeNL112, and Colette NL180, and that's usually on the weekends. If we're not recording Tales of Symphonia, we're probably just watching TV, which is usually either Simpsons reruns or quiz shows that we talk over, and then we just wonder, hey, what was the question? Yeah, that's really an annoying quirk about us, but hopefully we can get over that so we can actually answer the questions that we hear. Well, it sometimes happens, but most of the time we end up having loud conversations over Jeopardy or Cash Cab, things like that. Out on my spare time, I usually like to surf the web. I like to be on Facebook, Twitter, social media, that kind of thing. Check out the wrestling news, even if it's spoilers. And just read the comments just to hear people bitch and moan if it's anything to do with Cena. Even when he's not the champion, when it comes to the championship, they're just going to put it on Cena anyway. Even when he's not the champion, Cena gets crapped on. It's just so hilarious. And for when it comes to video games, I'm still trying to get the 5th weapons in Dynasty Warriors 8. I only got a few left, actually. I gotta get... From Shu, it's Madai, so there's 1 there. For Wei, it's Genji, Saiwenji, and Pong De. That's 4 in total. Pong De's I almost had, but when I was about to finish the level, I got triple Muso'd by Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, and Zhao Yun, and that killed me. Should have did an interim save before I had to fight the 3 in a row. That's really my fault. For Wu, it's Sun Jian, and weirdly enough, I did get the criteria for his weapon, but the game did not register it for some strange reason. So that's 5. For Jin, it's Sima Zhao and Zhao Ba, so that's 7 right there. I don't know if I missed anybody in Jin. Well, they're not that memorable to me because they only made an appearance in 7 or 8, though they do have good characters. And for the others, it would be Dong Zhuo, so there we go. That's 8 in total. I almost had Dong Zhuo's, but for some reason, the officers that were supposed to look for Diao Chan didn't find her. So it took me longer to get her location, meaning I had to go through more officers to locate Yuan Shao and defeat him. You had to do all that in 7 minutes once Dong Zhuo set Luoyang on fire. And sadly, he does that 7 seconds into the map. So he doesn't take that long into burning his own city. Which sucks. You have to be strong to get through the officers to save your own. And also, you have to be lucky that either Hua Zhang, Zhang Liao, or Li Jue find her. Because if they don't, then you have to go further down the list, like Chen Gong, for instance. And there's a lot of time wasted. So I didn't get lucky there. I'll have to keep trying. Hopefully I'll be able to get it, considering I got Dong Zhuo at level 99, which is max level for Dynasty Warriors 8. In Extreme Legends, I believe it's 150, so that's why I'm trying to build up my characters a lot. That way I don't have to in Extreme Legends when I eventually get the game. Other than that, I'm also like practicing Twilight Princess just so I can find all the hard pieces, golden bugs, etc., etc. just make sure that when I'm actually doing the footage for my Let's Play, I'm not getting lost. Yes, I know there are other items to find, spoiler alert, but I'm not at that point in the game yet. Mikey Byrne asks, can you Let's Play Scott Pilgrim or maybe a co-op with someone? I don't know about Scott Pilgrim, but as for a co-op with someone, I do have plenty of options, but not right yet. Fireman21134 says, thanks for answering my questions. I understand why you don't like bullet hell shooters, and congrats on reaching 14k subs. Well, thank you, by the way. A few questions. First one is, what was your most favorite console and why? Mine would be the Nintendo Wii. I would say the Super Nintendo because there were a lot of games that I owned that were very awesome on that console. Like, even if it's just like the quirky ones like Congo's Caper, etc., and Pocky and Rocky. Like, I just had like a lot of Super Nintendo games ranging from Super Mario World to Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, and I enjoyed every single one of them. Even the most obscure ones, because they were on a console that I loved. He also asked, what gaming series is your most favorite and why? Mine would be Toho and Zelda. My favorite series overall would probably also be Zelda. I mean, I just love the feeling of going on a long adventure, exploring dungeons, things like that, and battling ginormous enemies. Hopefully Zelda U will feel almost like a sandbox type of game, similar to like Skyrim, so to speak. Like, you have a lot of open exploration. I just hope they don't make every item available to you right away like they did in A Link Between Worlds. That was probably one thing that I did not like about the game. It just made the game too explorative, way too fast, you know what I mean? Lastly, I assume you've heard of Zelda Classic, where you can play custom quests. But is there any chance you would do some LPs on the custom-made quests in the future? In the future, perhaps, if I can get Zelda Classic to work. For some reason, it glitches out on me. I don't know why. I'll probably have to keep looking it up to see what I'm doing wrong. See if there's any different builds of Zelda Classic that might be compatible for my hardware. Hopefully it does, because I've seen some quests that were custom made, and they actually look pretty good. Some of them even based on maybe like Metroid or Pokemon. I would definitely check those out. Adam Valero says, hi Banga, I've been a fan of your LP since your Mega Man X1 LP. Here's my few question. Yeah, that's actually what he said there. I'm not going to judge his English. For your Yu-Gi-Oh! LPs, will you ever do any of the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, 5DS, or Zexal series? If anything, maybe GX, because I'm actually familiar with that series. 5DS or Zexal, probably not, because that's further up my equipment rotation, and I'm not that familiar with 5DS or Zexal, even though I have World Championship Series 2010 on my DS, which features the 5DS series. Will you LP any of the Star Fox games? I did two, like original Star Fox and Star Fox 64. Star Fox Adventures I used to have, but I sold it, or used it for trade-in value. And Star Fox 2 is a bit obscure to me, but who knows, it might happen. Have you played any of the Fire Emblem series? I did play some of the GameCube game briefly, but tactical games such as that are still a bit intimidating to me, so I probably haven't touched any of the others. Will you ever do live streams again, he asked. I don't know. It all depends on my mood. It all depends on my schedule. Just little things like that could get in the way of me doing live streams. So you had to dedicate some time to it. GoodGamer1994 asks, what is your opinion on the Frogger series? It's a hoppin' good time. Okay, lame pun aside. I haven't played the original Frogger game. I played ports of it, or adaptations of it, that were not related to frogs. Maybe dogs, so to speak. And I've played some of the GBA Frogger 3D platformer. It seemed a bit weird to me. But who knows, there could be a Let's Play of it in the future, just not right yet. Prince Watercrest says, since you mentioned the whole Let's Players from Beyond the Grave, I'd be the one that would use his ghostly energies to Let's Play every game ever made, not just the horror genre. Just putting that out there. That's probably from last week's Q&A when I made such a quip on that. Anyway, how do you manage your time when it comes to recording multiple videos for whatever projects you do? Well, if anything, I would just focus on what projects need to be worked on right away and just focus on them first. Anything that I really enjoy and got plenty of time, I can probably do those as well. Like anytime I got time to myself, I would try to do a little bit of each project rather than just focus on one only. Then you become overwhelmed when one of the other projects is not prepared. He also asked, what is your opinion on John Cena versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam and the rematch at Night of Champions? I expected Brock Lesnar to win at SummerSlam. I did not expect 16 German suplexes and, John Cena to pretty much be executed in a ring. I was not surprised also that he would get his rematch right away. You'd think they would have just waited till Survivor Series because, it'll be a more marquee event. Write John Cena off for a little bit, build him up to be the antidote to the Brock Lesnar poison. But it said, nope, we got to have it right now because creative is too impatient with some things. So I think Lesnar's going to win again, just not by a wide margin as SummerSlam. Colonel112 says, have you watched an LP from someone and think to yourself, I should LP this sometime in the future? I felt that way about I Want to Be the Guy and some other games like certain Mario hacks and things like that. So yeah, there were some times that I've watched an LP from someone and thought maybe I should LP it, like the Ratchet and Clank series. He also asked, how did you ever manage to win Towerfall in the NL Gaming Expo last weekend? Well, I shoot people and don't get shot. That's how you win Towerfall. Weirdly enough, I thought he was going to question how I won Mario Party 4 instead, because, Mario Party 1 and Mario Party 2, get everything, last turn, lose everything in a trade-in and chance time. Well, Mario Party 4, there were no board games, it was just mini games, so I kind of excelled in that. Not by much in the finals, I think my margin was by 2 or 3 wins. So that was still pretty close. And as for Towerfall, like the guy that would usually win these tournaments, did not exactly have his A game, so he got put out in the second round, so I figured, this will be an opening for me. And Towerfall, I got a fair bit of experience in, you just had to pay attention to your surroundings at all times. Don't just concentrate on shooting your opponent. If they're good at air dashing, they will neutralize your strategy every single time. You'd be left with no arrows, they'd have a lot of arrows, and you also got to make sure you're well above them so you can get the drop on them eventually. That's how I was able to win Towerfall, even though in the semifinals and the finals, I was down 3-1. You had to get 5 to win. If you're not paying attention, even if you beat your opponent, you could actually explode yourself, and then, nobody gets points. I look for these openings, I take advantage of them, that's how I won. So that was a pretty awesome NL Gaming Expo sponsored by Sandbox Gaming, and hopefully it'll be bigger in 2015. Maybe I'll win all the wine glasses and EB Games gift cards with Skittles in them. Just don't do what I did with one of them for my Mario Party 4 wine glass, and actually try to make Skittlebrow. Homer Simpson dreamt it. I can see why. They just all stuck together after 4 or 5 pourings of beer because the wine glass is not big enough to carry a whole bottle. Other events that I won other than Mario Party 4 and Towerfall, Banjo-Kazooie Speedrun, I got 22 jiggies in 30 minutes, and Mario Tennis that I was able to win in the finals. It was one set, 6 games, went to a tiebreaker, I win 7-5, Boo was my go-to guy. Tricky guys are awesome to use in Mario Tennis. Most of the matches had Boo versus Paratroopa, which made for a lot of funny serves. So I kind of wish I could share all the event with you guys. It was a lot of fun. Meta527II, or maybe that's lowercase l's, I can't really tell, says, I know how it's like when people keep Let's Playing the same game. I subscribe to quite a few people who do multiple Let's Plays on Sonic Adventure 2 to the point of the cutscenes getting dull after a while. Oh, actually, that's not a question. That was a response to a previous question he had last week. And that's just the thing. Sonic Adventure 2, I probably never do. Because too many people have done it already. Paul Province says, which do you hate more? Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for the NES or Superman 64 for the Nintendo 64? I hate Superman 64 more because the gameplay is so broken and you can fall through the floor. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is slow and boring, but at least I was able to finish it. It's a game you can beat, and actually has a gameplay mechanic that is surprisingly intuitive. Like, you have to make sure that you're fast, like you could get to that point, like to the end of the level before Mr. Hyde does, because if he goes well above you, you lose. That kind of thing. So you have to make sure that you're employing that kind of strategy, make sure you go as far as you can with Dr. Jekyll, and get nowhere near as far with Mr. Hyde. So that's quite an interesting gameplay mechanic. Okay, so Meta2 52711, or I keep forgetting that. He actually had a question this time, and that was above Paul Province's comment. Have you ever interacted with Chugga Conroys and over the internet, in real life, etc.? No, I have not interacted with him, and I would imagine even if I tried to, he might just answer the occasional tweet. But other than that, it probably wouldn't get much interaction with him because, well, a lot of people interact with him on a daily basis, like at pretty much any hour of the day, because he has like a fan base that's practically global. Big Mac Special Sauce says, "Oh, how tall are you?" Well, I'm 5'3" or 5'2.5". I'm not a tall guy. Darklit Zelda 543 says, "Are you going to play Five Nights at Freddy's? And if so, why? If not, is it because horror and overplayed by everyone?" Well, yes, I'm not that big on horror games such as Slender Man and the upcoming Five Nights at Freddy's. And most of them are quite overrated. They usually have face cam, probably done by PewDiePie, and they're just, some reactions are downright fake. Like, they probably know what's going to happen. "Oh, I died. I better scream." And it's just so try-hard that some horror game or horror LPs can easily be observed by how fake their reactions are, because some of them make it too obvious, or those that are not so obvious watch too many horror LPs and they just know what the reaction is. It's almost like a polygraph test. He also asks, "Opinions on upcoming Nintendo games, please." I'm looking forward to each and every one of them, because, well, I'm a Nintendo fan and that's what I do. I mean, I get them all at day one. I would probably just wait to see what the reactions are before I make my final judgment from there. Teju22 says, "What are your thoughts of the blue toad?" Well, he's a toad and he's blue, so that's okay, I guess. Also, what do you think of Let's Players using recurring gags? Excuse me. I think when they do recurring gags, it gives them an identity as to who they are. Sometimes it can be used for a punchline if they get themselves their own t-shirt, that kind of thing. If they're using recurring gags all the time, like almost every single video, or every 5 or 10 minutes during a video, then it becomes annoying. Like, I do have my quips about hating bats in video games, so I guess that's a bit of a gag. So, yeah, as long as you're not doing them too much, that's fine. TTTTTSDS, I have a question. Well, I hope you do. There's a Q&A. Have you heard of new Super Mario Bros. Wii, and have you ever had any thoughts of playing it on this channel? Well, yeah, I played that game in 2012. Go check it out. Wait, oh, he said newer Super Mario Bros. Wii. Oh, that's a mod or a hack of that game. I don't do hacks of Wii games or next-gen games on this channel. If I do hacks, they're of older games, so they're easier to emulate. Newer ones, no. I don't bother with, like, emulation or hacking a disc-based game. Matches Galwiak says, "Out of all the Final Fantasy games out there, what job class do you see yourself being specialized in?" Probably the Black Mage, because I'm not an offensive character. I mostly like to use magic. Though I don't think I could ever be a Red Mage, because that means you're somewhat limited on one skill and the other. I'd rather just be a specialist in something rather than just a mix of both and have like a lower tier as to what I can do. Also, what support job class would you use in combination with it? Well, obviously a White Mage because I need a healer. I would probably need a ninja or a thief that can use fast attacks and steal items for me. And I'd probably use a fighter because you do need some offensive characters in the event you're dealing with someone that has strong magic resistance, like another sorcerer. I also praise you, barely anyone can say my last name right. Well, I have my experience in saying some names wrong, even my own. Well, not my first and last name, but I just look at the name and thinking, yeah, it sounds like that, so I better make sure I pay attention to every letter so I can get it right. Anime Manga Gamer says, in the Mortal Kombat series, what were your most favorite fatalities to watch? Sub-Zero Spine Rip in Mortal Kombat 1. Not Melina's fatality in Mortal Kombat 2. I would say Kung Lao's fatality, where he just splits people in half with his hat. In Mortal Kombat 3, even the weirdest one, where Smoke just shoots out a lot of bombs and blows up the earth. That was a fun one to watch. Quan Chi's fatality in Mortal Kombat 4, where he rips off the guy's leg and beats him to death with it. That was pretty fun. Reiko's fatality in Mortal Kombat 4, where he kicks the guy's torso where his head and limbs are still floating. I don't know how that works. That was a funny fatality to see. In Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, I would say Sub-Zero's skeleton rip was awesome. The Quan Chi fatality, where he just pulls on the guy's neck and just causes the guy to fall, was probably my least favorite fatality to watch. In Deception, Baraka's multiple slash fatality and rips the guy up was awesome. Shaolin Monks, I would say Kung Lao's fatality, where he pulls a rabbit out of his head, the guy thinks, oh, it's so cute, and then the rabbit just mauls him. Or the fatality where he just pulls the hat down on the ground where it's still spinning, and just slowly pulls the guy crotch first into it, rips him in half, and then he dies. Or was that a Mortal Kombat 9? That might have been an MK9 instead of Shaolin Monks. Armageddon did not exactly have many good fatalities, except like forward, forward, square, forward, forward, triangle, up, up, triangle, that kind of thing. It was a bad idea to have like creature and fatality in Armageddon. I did not like that at all. The only reason you would just make it awesome was just to get coins that you can use for upgrading your character. And that was pretty much it. Ryan Bragg says, yes, that moment in Mario Party 2 on Munch Games Guides I will never forget. Would you rather LP a Sonic game or a tactics game? Probably a Sonic game, because at least I can be able to do that without regretting like what I did before. Tactics games, there might be like a small niche I'd consider, but that may not be for a while. Devil Joe, yeah, I'm reading his name right. Devil Joe 193 says, hey Bonga, thank you for taking my request for playing Landstalker: The Treasures of King Noble. Thank you for making that a request. Now for the question. Do you have a Sega Dreamcast or a good Dreamcast emulator? No, I do not. I've seen some Dreamcasts for sale, but they're quite expensive. I would like to know this before sending my request for another game made by Climax Entertainment, because the only other game by Climax Entertainment that I know of is a Japanese-only game for the Super Nintendo, and said game has no full translation as of now. The SNES game he's thinking of is probably Lady Stalker, which is somewhat of a sequel to Landstalker. And there was a Landstalker sequel for the Dreamcast, which I probably don't do Dreamcast games at all. If anything, I would probably like to do Shenmue on the Dreamcast if emulation for that was not a bit of a crapshoot. Owen Killam says, what's your favorite thing about doing Let's Plays? Well, playing video games and just having fun with them. Interacting with my fan base, whatever way I can. Even if it's like positive or negative, I just happen to enjoy that experience, and it gives me an excuse to finish games that I otherwise would just leave on the back burner. Manic the Hedgehog says, hey Bong, I was wondering what is your favorite Mega Man series? Also, what is your favorite game of the series? Also, tell us why. I am curious, please. That was a weird sentence at the bottom, but my favorite Mega Man series would probably either be the classic one or the Mega Man X series. And my favorite game from either series, I would go with Mega Man 3 for the classic Mega Man series. And for X, I would say X2. Well, of course I was going to tell you because, well, you asked a question and I was going to do it. And Goran Sykes says, are you going to LP Space Invaders for PS1, Ms. Pac-Man Maze Madness for PS1, Kingsley Adventure for PS1, Rescue Shot for PS1, Shadow of the Colossus PS2, and Point and Blank series for PS1? Commas are your friend. As is capitalization. Well, capitalization you can probably get away with, but wow. I have a request page on my website that you can find in my channel page, where you can put your requests there. I don't usually like answering request suggestions on a comment or in a private message because I have a request page, and sometimes I just don't have the time to look into those games I probably either haven't heard of or maybe won't even like. So you're better off just putting your requests in there. They'd be a lot easier to seize that way. They're all in one spot and won't get lost in the mix. Because if they're all over the place, I'm not going to look every single video looking for that specific request when it could just be in one spot. And as for those games, I probably will think about it. It likely won't happen anytime soon. So anyways, that's it for the questions. If you have any more, just feel free to ask them in the comments for this video, and I'll get to them next week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.